All right, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to this version on Friday, I got to look at my watch to get the date right, the 18th of March, the day after St. Patrick's Day on 2022. Brigadier General Matt Higer, 412 Test Wing Commander here, broadcasting to you live from the PA studios at the Center of the Aerospace Testing Universe. Chief Ward-Swanigan is off with her kids on their spring break. Hopefully she doesn't return with too many bumps, bruises, broken things, or get lost in the wilderness, but I know she and the fam are having a great time. Her stunt double here is Chief Swiss. So Chief, I'll let you said this is your first time broadcasting with me, but I'm gonna pin you down and say, tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm not gonna make you sit down. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Tell the crowd.
Yeah, thank you. Chief Swistak, Jeremy Swistak. I'm the MSG SCL, Senior Enlisted Leader. Just so happy to be here. Came here from Herbert Field, a little bit different, impact and stuff like that, but it's really cool to be here. I tell everybody I get a chance to meet, and I met quite a few, that if you look at this flight line we have out here, we've really almost got one of everything. It's just such a unique mission, and really just testing the things that will be on our airplanes or in other parts of what we do in the Air Force. To make us better and to make us a better adversary for our adversaries is just amazing. I love being here.
So thanks for being here, Swiss.
Yes, sir.
This goes better when I don't have to just talk to myself for the whole time. So to ensure that I don't just have to punish Chief, I do have a special guest here in a second, but we absolutely are here to hear from you. And so if you have a question, a comment, a concern, anything you want to get to us that you'd like us to address online or live today, please hit us up at 707, here we go, so sorry, wrong hand, right there, that number right there, 707-412-8922. Text in your number, text in your question or your comment, and if we can address it live, we will do so. The sooner you get your questions in the broadcast, the more time it gives us to literally phone a friend sometimes, and we can close them out at the end. If you ask us a question that completely stumps both me, which is not surprising, but if you can also stump Chief Swiss, that would be surprising, but not unprecedented. We'll get an answer back to you, either in a future broadcast, or if you give us your name and point of contact, we'll get it back to you direct. We started these broadcasts approaching 2 years ago when we could no longer do really big, large in-person things. The value and the reason we ended up on Friday at 1 o'clock on every duty Friday is it's always a place, literally, but it's also a time slot where you're going to hear from the installation leadership at Edwards Air Force Base at the Center of the Aerospace Testing Universe, and the topics are going to vary widely. A couple weeks ago, we tried innovation for innovation, or innovation with innovation. There was an event happening at our makerspace, which is over by the post office and Domino's, and that event was a coding class. That was sponsored by the innovation team. So at an innovation space, makerspace, and a class that was actually teaching people how to use new tools to find innovative solutions. And then the PA team said, hey boss, we got this new portable camera thing that rides on, I don't know if it rides on 4G or 5G, but it rides on the cellular network for data that requires a person to wear it, and then they have a camera and a microphone, so it's almost a two-person thing. So we got to try that out and beta test it or be innovative at the Makerspace during an innovation event. Colonel Gordon was our remote broadcaster, remote personality there, and Chief and I were here. It worked out like a champ. So that may not be super exciting for everyone, but I thought that was a demonstration of a great capability and indicative of the things that we'd like to share with you and the way that we hope to bring this to you as we continue to broadcast here in this time slot every duty day Friday at 1300 for about an hour. Chief, I asked my kids as I tuck them in, whether I'm tucking them in virtually over Duo or I'm tucking them in person, to say, hey, give me a highlight of your day. And I used to say, what was your favorite thing? And they would say, Daddy, what's your favorite thing? And I would always say, well, this moment, this time. So now especially my son, he's like, and this can't be your favorite event. So you can't say this is your favorite event.
This is it here?
No, you can't say this is it. Well, so valid, right?
Oh, jeez.
But so this can't be it. But give us an example of something that fires you up or that you're excited about, or something you want to just off the top of your nugget hit to the crowd about the week that we have just closed out.
Yes, sir. Well, this is a perfect opportunity. So yesterday, I had the chance to visit the Airman's Attic, right? My wonderful spouse, Tiffany, she spends a lot of time over there pretty much every day, maybe 4 days a week, 5 days a week. She takes I have a 3-year-old, believe it or not, old guy here, 3-year-old. But she takes him over there and kind of lets him run around with some other little kids, and they sort through just so much donations. It's amazing. And all the other spouses over there, they're really doing this out of love, right? They're really just trying to take care of the airmen we have here and the stuff that they need. It's just awesome. That was just yesterday, so really I think that was the highlight of my week. And the best part was I was able to thank all them. There was a bunch of the spouses there, and I was like, just huddle around a little bit. Let's just talk for a minute. And I really I thanked them so much for what they do. They really don't get anything out of it per se. There's no payment or anything, but it's just them giving back. And one of them in particular, and I won't use the name or anything in case anybody knows them. She told me kind of off to the side. She's like, I do this so I can find sanity. Right? In the sense of community and belonging. I was just like, wow, you can't pay for that. It's intangible. It's just beautiful. So that was the highlight of my week. Second big highlight, I try to go home for lunch every day. I've spent about 5 deployments away from my wonderful spouse, Tiffany, and my son, Jackson. Well, he's 3, so just 1. But so I just try to make a conscious effort to get home. Luckily, I live close, and I know some folks do not. But I just try to capitalize that time when I can to give back to them too, because they sacrifice a lot.
Yeah. So if we graded you and called Tiffany, was he 100% this week? Did he hit 5 for 5?
4 for 5.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I did okay.
B's are usually acceptable, but certainly not 60s, right? So all right,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll ask her for a score next time I see her.
Yes, sir.
So I'll give a great one of the uplifting things that I've done in the last 7 days. And I told the crowd when I did this that hey, I got to run, I got to make town hall, so I'm going to have to bolt now. But if you have a question that we haven't gotten to, text it in and show up on the broadcast, 707-412-8922. So I got to spend. It was scheduled for a couple hours, and we always go long because there's great questions from this crowd. But I got to spend part of the morning with the first term officers course. And one of the things that I gained so much energy out of hanging out with brand new captains and a lot of lieutenants, and about a third of the crowd were like first base, first accession, crowd. So it's fantastic for me to get to hang out with that crowd. I tell them they probably have as many years left in service as I have months. That kind of thing. And it's just great to see the troops that are rolling in behind us as we tap out from the line. So that was really exciting for me. And I hope at least a couple of you have made it into this crowd. And if you have a question that I haven't gotten to, I will take it online, and then I can be graded by the public. So 707-412-8922. Are we getting anything in yet, Sergeant Morris?
Yes, sir, we have.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're getting them, keep them rolling. But there's also, so I talked to first-term officers. I suspect Chief Swiss speaks a lot to FTAC. I have a lot of experience with first-term airmen's course. That's our enlisted early in career crowd, first term, first assignment. But you know what? Let's see. There are 3 kinds of airmen. There are those with a commission, those that enlist, and wait. Yes, those that are military members that wear civilian uniforms, right? And we happen to be blessed with one of those folks in the studio here with us today. He has done many wonderful things in his relatively short time with the Air Force, but I'm going to introduce you to one of our 4th quarter award winners. So if you could switch the camera. He does awesome things. It's a beautiful airplane behind you there. Congratulations again on the award. I tell everyone those are not given. They're not awarded. They're earned, and you absolutely earned that. So well done. But if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit, name and where do you work?
Well, first I want to say happy Friday to everyone. I'm super grateful and thankful for being here. A little bit about myself is my name is Abel. A little punchline I always give to everyone is like I'm able to do something. And what I work here is mainly on 412 Force Support Squadron. for the NAF accounting side. Basically, a little bit of what I do is just oversee MWR facilities. So we're talking about, bowling, golf, club, aero, and we go a little bit over that just to ensure we have a community together and kind of making sure financial statements are kind of like 100% accuracy, and we overshadow like private orgs, and mainly our main mission here is just to form a community and able to improve the quality of life for airmen here on this installation.
Thanks, Abel. I'll tell you, he's being very humble. NAF accounting is a no-joke job, right? And there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of impact there. I know that not a lot of folks understand the different types of money, the different fundings, the different legal requirements we have on that. But the dollars that we receive from that you spend in the BX are not the dollars that we can spend at FAM Camp. The dollars that we receive from the Aero Club are not necessarily dollars that we can spend doing renovations on the base. The funds that we pay civilians with that work, many of them work in the CDC, all the golf course employees, those kinds of folks, those civ pay dollars are not civ pay dollars that we can convert to other places. And understanding where those lines are not lines, where they're actually hard walls and people are gonna get in a lot of trouble and potentially go to jail. Although that's an extreme thing for that type of an honest error, but I guess it's possible. Abel, and not just people like Abel, but Abel is somebody that keeps us all straight on that, and that's something that happens in the background. And Abel, this is I think you tell me if you have a job like this. I've described a lot of jobs, and often they're customer service jobs or they're kind of behind the scenes folks. If you do your job flawlessly, now you're an exception because you're a star performer for other reasons. But if you do your job flawlessly, the general public doesn't know you exist or say boo. But man, once there's something that's wrong, you get all kinds of attention. Do you think your job fits in that category?
Yes, of course. It definitely fits in my category. I really have to coordinate with, facility managers, not just facility managers, but airmen or civilians even when creating some form of program, or whether it be payroll. We always try our best, and during these times it can be kind of tough because when COVID happened, we're kind of backed up, but we really try our best to make sure everyone has their requests or the tasks being completed in a timely manner. And usually one mistake, people do catch it, but at the end, we really try to accommodate and explain our situations and really try to form that kind of trust with everyone so we can feel part together.
Yeah, Abel, so I think we've kind of already sped a little bit here. You and I, and certainly Chief Swiss, know what NAF means, but for those of you that don't have any idea what NAF is, it's not Numbered Air Force, although that is another acronym there. It's a non-appropriated funds. And so NAF funds are dollars that we receive by what you do and how you participate, and usually MWR folks here. But think lodging are NAF dollars, Aero Club is NAF dollars, CDC is NAF dollars, bowling alley NAF dollars, golf club NAF dollars, FAM camp NAF dollars, outdoor rec NAF dollars. What did I miss, Abel? Probably a couple more.
You pretty got most of them.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that Abel does and his team does is they look at across all of those. So if you will, across the portfolio on our installations, plural, because we have NAF activities down at Plant 42 as well. We have to stay in the black. Now, each activity doesn't have to remain in the black every quarter or even every year, but overall, we have to have a fiscally solvent NAF funds program because getting augmentation from Headquarters Air Force in NAF funds is really, really challenging. So there are a couple places that have no problem staying in the black on their own, but those places help support other things that aren't necessarily as much in demand, or we just won't charge what it takes to do that because that's the right thing to do for those that have earned the base access that they have. So I'm not going to go down those categories, but Abel, how long have you been a member of the Air Force family here?
I've been here for a little bit. I turned 1 year in March 22nd, actually. So
Awesome. So almost, huh?
Almost.
Next week, happy first birthday.
Yeah.
Are they going to get you a big chocolate cake that you have to eat with your hands and get all messy like we do for many 1-year-old birthdays?
I mean, I hope I can spend it with everyone and part of the team because I'm thankful for them for, making me feel welcome and really giving me the experience here on the installation.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, Abel, I see you, and I don't see a COVID baby, but I guess from the Air Force family you are, right? You joined our team in something that is unprecedented in all of our lifetimes. I'm super glad you're on our team, and I will tell you that there are fantastic airmen that wear uniforms that look like yours, and I'm so blessed and so proud to be on a team and to support you as you support other airmen as well. I'm going to ask you one more question. You're welcome to stay after that as long as you want. What is, maybe it's a two-part. So what is something that you've done in the last year that you went, that was really cool, and then what's something you're looking forward to doing in the next couple years as a government civil servant?
Oh, that's a great question. But something interesting I did during the past year was more so really looking into like private orgs and how the idea of so I was a public accountant and private accountant before coming into the installation, so I kind of know how things work outside the private sector, and really seeing how we use these NAF dollars and everything we generate goes back to the community. And I think that's really awesome to accommodate for everyone and really try to, raise funds. I love seeing private orgs having events around the base and really giving back to the community is what I feel is the best. And it makes me feel very rewarding and able to say, wow, I was able to be part of something like that. And, like last week we had the event for the Lieutenant Band concert, and it's just great to see everyone smiling and having a good time during these tough times.
Yeah, I agree. The Lieutenant Dan Band concert was Gary Sinise, and the Lieutenant Dan Band concert is a great example of a roll-up that FSS hosts and supports. We get a lot of outside agencies participation and support there. The private orgs were there, great crowd, and that is not possible without people like you, Abel. So if I were to, say look forward to 3 to 5 years, what's something that you think would be pretty cool to do as an Air Force civilian? What's something that reach a little bit?
Something that would be nice to see is kind of, start a program where people can get a class started to help people. Let's say they first come into the military aspect or civilians, really try to make a program where, stuff they can do around the base and stuff to do around, and really create some sort of funding so we can be able to help them explore more, and then hopefully create some form of network connections. And so from a year from now, I meet someone, and then, I can always stay in touch with them and say, hey, look, let's get together and do something out of the norm, and create families, basically what it's all about.
Yeah, I like it. I like it, Abel. I'll tell you, I suspect you've met her, and if you haven't met her, there's someone that is in your, I'll say your broad job jar bucket. She's my chief of financial management. Her name is Kelly Marquez. She, like you, joined as an Air Force civil servant and has been in accounting and finance channels for a while. And so I see a lot of the potential that she has achieved as a GS-15 equivalent at an extremely early stage in her career. I see a lot of that same potential in you, and this award, or this award that's earned, not given, gives the indication that you have all that potential as well. So I'm glad you're on our team. I'm excited for you. If you listen, everybody listen really, really carefully. You hear the clapping in virtual land. Yep, you hear that? You hear that's for you, Abel. Well done. Congratulations. And thanks for pseudo-volunteering to join us here today. The civilian award winners get an invitation. The military ones get an order. So I appreciate you being here voluntarily. And it was nice to meet you, and I look forward to seeing you around the installation. Before you go, it's important for me to tell you that, I don't know if you noticed this, Chief, but evidently I'm surrounded by MSG peeps, right? I got an FSSer here. I got the SEL for Colonel Harris with me, and then off camera right now, but he's going to be reading questions. He's in training, but he hasn't officially taken over the duties yet. There's Mike, Sergeant Morris. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us where you used to work or where your billet is still officially?
Yes, sir. So I started here in 2015 at Edwards, worked with the Security Forces Squadron. Then I moved over to Plant 42. Plant 42 for like a year, going on 2 years, and now I'm back here. Working with the test wing.
So I got the SEL, a defender, and a force support squadron person with me. So I'm feeling very installation, right? Maybe I'm supposed to be Colonel Harris today, with all this crowd, but I appreciate it. Yeah, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Yes. You guys have had some tremendous successes the last little while. Again, Abel, thanks. You're welcome to sneak out, or you're welcome to stay, whatever you're more comfortable with. And again, congratulations. All right, let me pivot to something that does fall into NAF accounting lanes, and is a topic that we got asked about in multiple forums. And I'm gonna say fighting. And Swiss, I hope we have an update in the last couple hours, but I don't think we do. As many of you know, the temporary lodging entitlement, TLE, when you PCS into a location, you are currently authorized 10 days of TLE as part of your PCS entitlement. Generally speaking, that TLE is in the TLF, the temporary lodging facilities, while you're waiting to get into your house or a rental or anything like that. But what we all know, having PCS'd into most spaces, and Chief, I'd be interested to know if how many times you've actually done a door-to-door. It's been very few in my experience, without prepaying a lot of rent or prepaying on a mortgage or closing on a house way early. So those are expenses in and of themselves, which are significant. If you get here and then you get for on-base housing in the queue, it's going to be more than 10 days.
Oh yes.
And we know that. So when TLE expires, you pay lodging rates to stay in the TLF until you decide to move out. Lodging rates the base lodging rates for TLF are not something that I get to set, and they're a lot more than even my BAH covers. If you multiply that by 30, we have a temporary, I'll call it reprieve, to reduce lodging rates in the TLF for those that are awaiting housing to 1/30th of their BAH. Now that's an Air Force level, Air Force Services level. Go do this to fix that. Bleeding arterial wound in the national housing crisis. Unfortunately, our current extension expires the end of this month.
Yes, sir, it does.
I am interested in permanent solutions to that crisis that is pending, but I'm not sure any of those solutions, even the temporary and additional temporary one, are going to get here in time. So a couple thoughts on that as I talk to you, and if you have any ideas or suggestions, I will absolutely take them. I'm going to be with my fellow AFMC installation commanders and their chiefs next week at Wright-Patterson at a senior leader conference, and I guarantee this is going to be a topic of discussion. And I tell you all the time I love demanding customers. Well, I also get to be a demanding customer of the Air Force and of the MAGCOM and of Air Force IMSE. And so this is a way that I can take the requirements and the right thing to do and care for airmen on. And I don't think the track record that we're on right now, or the trend that we're on right now, is the right way. So a couple things that I want to throw out as thoughts. One, maybe the Air Force is going to extend it again. I would not plan on that. So 10 days is 10 days, and then after that, these airmen are out of pocket. So that's one thought that I have for you on that, and I hope I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the trend line we're on. The second one is, and this is something that your predecessor worked a lot, Swiss, and Colonel Harris was the lead author on it. We floated an exception to policy that allowed us at the installation level, and I recommended MSG be the signatory or the approver on it, that someone that was on the housing list waiting for a house, or they'd closed on a house but were waiting to move in, or they had a lease signed and a deposit in but the house wasn't available, or things that weren't not just I'm just going to camp out here because this is good, but you kind of don't want to do temporary before you get to the permanent. So the people and the families that were, it's going to be so many months, but then we have a place. Well, what do you do during those so many months? Our ETP was to give them a reduced rate in TLFs and in billeting to be a little out of pocket above their BAH, not a lot. And the difference between the 133 BAH and our proposal for that ETP is your BAH isn't supposed to cover 100% of your lodging, and it's 100% of your housing, and it's also not supposed to cover 100% of your housing plus housekeeping, plus cable, plus furnishings, plus, right?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
the TLFs may be relatively old structures, but the service there is pretty robust at 1/30 of your BAH. And it's also not supposed to cover a hotel for the same reasons. Now, you can debate that I don't have a kitchen in many of the rooms, but I don't know, a lot of folks, especially the single ones, don't cook a lot anyway. But our ETP request was designed to pull a little bit out of pocket for all the right reasons. And I'd like to have that capability at installation level. And it kind of ties into what we just got done talking about with Able, is that the reason that we're not allowed to do that is that Air Force Lodging has a cash flow concern. And that's why they stopped subsidizing the rates and snapped to what is the per diem, the TDY per diem rate, which for us is just very, very high. And so that ETP may hit, but we floated it. We got told no. This happened, and then they said, we're fixed. And Colonel Harris and I said, no, we're temporarily fixed. We got to make a permanent solution. I hope that ETP lands in time, and I hope it's successful. So unless something's broken in the last 12 hours that I'm not aware of, I think that ETP is still pending.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is. The last status was AFMC wanted some more time with it, running through legal channels, and we actually asked them to expedite that so we could get it up to staff level quicker.
Yes. The third solution, or the third topic I'd like to talk about here is, and I mean, this is kind of old school, right? Kind of like you're downrange and just audible. It'd be scrappy. If you are a sponsor, you're a supervisor, you're a shirt, you're an SCL, you're a commander or a director, and you know you have an inbound family that is not going to have their housing squared away at the 10-day mark or maybe the 11, 12, 13-day mark, start working with them on some creative options now. And so I will sign them all day if somebody says, for example, I spoke with a major that is in wing staff that's in TLF right now, and his house, he wants to live on base. He's on the waiting list. It varies between like 12 and 20, depending on how many other things, how many houses in Key and Essential and all that stuff. But he is really confident he's not going to be in his house by the end of the month, and so that was a topic we chatted about. And I said, hey, I need you to think about creative options. For example, if you have an RV, or if your boss has an RV that you want to park in front of his house, and your families can kind of like get to know each other for part of the summer, I would happily ask our housing partner to let that happen in some limited cases, and they're going to say absolutely. And that's an example of being scrappy or being adaptive or being agile, and not just continuing to charge the hill or run your face into the wall that isn't going to move.
Yes, sir,
right?
exactly.
Now, that is also doesn't have to be his RV, right? So it could be the person that owns the house. It could be somebody else. So at the unit level, at the supervisor level, we collectively need to start, but at the very by name level, we need to start thinking about how are we going to take care of folks that end up in that very, very square corner, so we don't literally have people showering in the gym, living out of their cars, which we have had in the not too distant past, which I'm not satisfied with, and we owe folks better than that. But there's a lot that we can't control. But getting scrappy or thinking about something like that would be appropriate. Yes. So Fam Camp has grown or is growing. There's 16 slots. They'll be ready soon. And then we go from, I think it's 35 to 51 total. But if you think if you have an RV and you think you're just gonna roll into Fam Camp and hang out there for months, that is highly competitive as well. And we are also triaging in the same way as we do for on-base residences. So Key and Essential, mill-to-mill, et cetera. And that's going to help some, but it certainly doesn't solve the problem. So other solutions that are in hand are the way that we help the crisis that's pending on April 1st. And then I am continuing to fight for the medium range, so the long, medium, and short range solutions. Long range solutions are just more of the same, right? We can easily double the number of houses on base, and we should. That's the long range solution. The medium range solution is something that's diversity of housing, like apartments. We're making some progress, but it has stalled for so long that I think we'll get across the finish line, but I'm thinking 2-3 years. And then the near-term solution is things like bigger Fam Camp or the creative solutions like we talked about for parking your RV out in front of somebody's house on base, that kind of stuff.
Our housing has so much space around it. I mean, in the circle I live in, there's plenty of room. You could put an RV on both sides of my house.
Yeah.
That'd be
Well, there
great.
you go. Party at Chief Swiss.
Yeah,
house.
come on over. Yeah, we can get to know each other a little bit better.
And make him pay your power bill for the
That's right.
for the
That's
plug-in,
right.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
that's one of the benefits, and that's why I think if we're going to overflow folks from fam camp, I'd rather overflow them with friends or coworkers where they have some chance of power, as opposed to dry camping as we start to get into the summer months here, which will be very brutal in an RV if you're not connected to power. Absolutely. So anyway. That is something that's on my mind, and I'm taking that front and center to Senior Leader Conference at AFMC next week. If you have a vignette that you'd like to get us, or a story or an Air Force story that you want to share to help me drive home those points, I'll definitely take it. And maybe that answers one of the questions that one of you had. So Sergeant Morris, you said you had some questions and or comments that have rung in, so we'll take those.
Yes, sir. So the first question, sir, who do you think will win March Madness?
Who do I think will win March Madness? Boy, that's a great question right there, but we'll get to that one here in a second. The new Building 1400. Who's going to win March Madness? I don't have a clue, right? So here's a couple things I'm excited about March Madness for every year, but especially this year. To see basketball arenas with people in the stands.
Yes, it's amazing.
Right? To know that people are planning their Final Four or national championship parties, and they'll be able to have those in person, and they'll be able to have the food they want. Don't be completely disregarding of the threat that's still in our environment, but the ability that we can do that and then accept the risk and mitigate the risk at the family level or the personal level. Those are tremendous things that I'm very excited about. I'm gonna have to go parochial, knowing that they are a very long shot. But I note that my Trojans are in the dance, and that doesn't happen every year. But when I was a freshman, I will not name what year that was. They made it to the Sweet 16, and I'm like, holy cow, basketball and football. Yeah, I went to the right school, and no, it wasn't always basketball and football. As much, I'll tell you how much I have actually grown a little bit. I used to not be a big Bruin Bear Cub fan in basketball, but I will tell you it's good to see a couple Pac-12 teams in the tournament. That's a roundabout way for me to tell you I'm not following the tournament yet much, but I love the Sweet 16 down to the Final Four. It's great stuff. How about you, Chief?
So I'm a Syracuse fan. I've been kind of grew up there and always have been. They're not in it this year.
So orange is your color.
Orange is my color. That's right. This is my natural place here with this orange. It's beautiful. Like we were talking earlier, maybe it'd be cool if we could put orange shirts under this. But so Orangemen, Syracuse Orangemen, they're not in it. I'll give a shout out to my boss, Colonel Harris, and say the Tar Heels are going to win. But in reality, I did a bracket. It was a friendly bracket just in the office, and my bracket's already busted. I think I picked Iowa. Big upset there. There's been 3 or 4 big upsets. Then I did a little bit of research. Haven't been following it real heavy, and I looked in it, and it said 98 point something % of brackets already busted. So I didn't feel as bad because my bracket was busted in the first round. So, and Colonel Harris let me know that.
I'm sure he
He did. He's like, haha, your bracket's already busted. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
So I guess go Tar Heels, sir.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There you go, Jason. We'll have to. That'll be an interesting game if the brackets turn out that the Trojans play the Tar Heels.
That'd be great.
I'll take the appropriate handicap on that, just like if it was football and we'd go the other way. So, all right. Great question, Sergeant Morris. Thanks. There was one that rung in that we showed on the screen. So if you could show that again. Number to text in your comment or question, 707-412-8922. That's 707 like the original Boeing airplane. 412 is in 412 test wing. And 8922, if you're typing it out, is TWCC. So the question was, any updates on the new engineering building? So the person that's asked about that, I'm assuming, and if I'm off, correct me, send in an updated question, but I assume that you're asking about what we're calling the new Building 1400. Building 1400 is the home of our test engineering group, TENG, and that building, if you look at historical pictures of Edwards Main Base, was not the first, but one of the first buildings that was constructed here on the base. Wow. And so it is long in the tooth. The soon the current director of the TENG, his predecessor, when he assessed here as a government civilian, like 20-something years ago, was told, building 1400 is old, it'll be taken down in a year now. And so he almost made it long enough as a government civil servant here to see the groundbreaking on the building 1400 replacement. But to that senior leader, if you happen to be watching, I hope you're enjoying retirement. I'm glad we're able to reschedule your retirement ceremony, and that the officiant that you deserve, not me, the officiant that you deserve is going to be able to make it out for that. But so I'm excited about the groundbreaking that is trending for that. It's called the Test Engineering Lab Complex. That's what we're loosely titling it right now. We're going to repurpose or bring a lot of the office capability, the technical library, and other things that are in the existing building 1400, and that will transfer to the new building. The old building is going to get demoed, right, to make room for some future maintenance growth in the maintenance part of the base, heavy maintenance group area there. But we're also going to pull in labs. So there are labs scattered all over the installation that we want to kind of co-locate so that the uber geeks amongst us don't have to travel far to get from one place to the other. We can upgrade the labs. We can have some more classified spaces, those kinds of things. So it will be a mission-enhancing capability, not just a one-for-one replacement for office space in a building that was tired, but actually mission growth. The project, the MILCON, is approved by Congress. We are marching down the path with the Army Corps of Engineers in the lead on that. One of the challenges for all military construction always is by the time you get the approval for the project and the time you actually let the contract for the project is that there's risk of inflation on either the labor or the materials or something else or both or all. And as all of you know, there's no inflation happening in America right now.
Not a bit, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that has put some pressure on the cost of materials and the cost of labor for that project, but it hasn't placed the project at risk. It means we may have to change scope a little bit or say, hey, big Air Force, hey, Congress, we need a little bit more to complete this capability. And there are a lot of projects in that boat right now across the Air Force, but it is still tracking. I wish I could tell you date or year, month for groundbreaking, but don't hold your breath, but it's not 5 years. So that's a top level update for that. And if CE's on the line and wants to correct me to 100% on any of that, please do. But that is a tremendous, I look forward to that. It'll be sited right next, so just west of the wing headquarters building and in the same kind of generic area of the base, but out of the maintenance compound. So thanks for asking the question. I hope that was the update. And if you were asking about a different building or different structure, then you're welcome to text that in as well. Sergeant Morris, anything else chimed in?
Yes, sir. We have one more. Any updates on the van pool regulations with the new telework posture? More specifically, the 50% requirement of eligible work days to be able to qualify for the subsidy.
So I like that you're asking me specific questions. So 2 thumbs up on that. I'm not aware of an update on the van pool and telework posture. One of the things that is important. So that's the answer to the question. I'm not aware of any of that. Now the nuances behind the question are, hey, if I'm a van pool rider in the before times, when my normal work location was riding to and from Edwards, and I don't know if this person is at Plant 42, but probably riding to and from Edwards on a van pool every day, to work at Edwards every day, we put the you must ride that 50% of the days to remain eligible for the van pool. We put that in abeyance during the heavy telework postures of the pandemic. But now that we're at Alpha, hopefully trending to normal, although we'll see how the pandemic treats us. I can pivot to that real fast. The Omicron derivative that appears to be more contagious in Europe right now. Yeah. We're tracking that. But let's assume that doesn't get here and then it continues to stay at this low level and we stay at Alpha and most people and most teams end up back at work. I think most folks that are in a partial or hybrid telework in work, most people that are van poolers will be able to meet that threshold of 50%. And if you're not, send forward an exception to policy. The problem there is that it's a subsidized program, so it's no expense to you other than the wait time while you're waiting to get picked up or dropped off, but it's no expense to you, but it is subsidized. And so we have some very specific requirements on how are we judicious and how are we good stewards of that subsidy. I know you'd like to have the ability to, well, not you personally, but it would be nice if we could all have the ability to fully telework from home, have the ability to not burn gas as we chose to go to work, and have a desk at work, and we could do any combination thereof to include drive ourselves whenever we wanted to do. That kind of agility and that kind of flexibility would be fantastic. The reality of that scenario that I described right there is you're going to have to, everybody is going to have to choose what their primary mode of commuting. Maybe it's tele, maybe it's driving yourself, maybe it's vanpool, or maybe it's just a normal carpool because you share with somebody else. And then use that as your baseline and then meet the thresholds if that is vanpool for you. I don't know that there are any major changes going forward on the horizon for that, but I'm not opposed to looking into that further. So it was a one-word answer. Any changes yet? The answer is no, but there's certainly some considerations there. For the person that asked the question, if there's something that we can interact with you or iterate with you on to potentially resolve your scenario, don't be shy about leaving your contact information if you want us to continue to work that. I know that I am so blessed to drive 5 miles round trip to my office as I drive by the gas station on base and I see, well, the sign is broken right now, but the last time I saw it, it was $5.50 or something like that, a gallon. And I also know that there are a lot of folks that can't quickly pivot to more fuel-efficient vehicles because this is a horrible mashup of a war that's driving oil prices up, combined with supply chain restrictions, limiting the supply of new cars, keeping the prices of used cars up. And so you kind of dance with the one you're with at this point. And if you're your predecessor, Swiss, and you got a big old truck with Texas plates on it, then that's going to cost you some cash as you commute to and from your job every day. If you're someone that was fortunate enough to either have an electric that has the plug-in range, fantastic, or a hybrid that gets in the 40s or 50s, then you're reaping that benefit. But this is a really not fun mashup of that. Let me combine two topics that we've talked about already. One is commuting and cost of commuting with the housing crisis. One of the vignettes that I am absolutely continuing to pound on and take is that when we have a dormer that we say, congratulations, you've graduated, and they say, no, I don't want to leave because I can't afford gas money, and we eventually say, you got to go because we need to make room for the airmen or maybe the brand new A1C senior airmen. You need to go so that we can make room for the brand new two-striper. If you run the math and you look at what BAH is for a single senior airman, certainly A1C, and then you look at where in town they'd probably live, and you go, how many miles is that? And assume about 30 miles per gallon, which is in some cases generous. You see that the overwhelming majority of their BAH is just the gas to get to and from their apartment or the room that they rent. And that has gotten some visibility, but it isn't moving fast enough. The Air Force Civilian Leaders Program has taken that action as a charge. There's a survey out to all the installation commanders that are trying to pick at that, and those types of scenarios and those types of vignettes are very powerful and very important. My concern, again, is that it will not arrive fast enough to prevent some serious bleeding out of the pocketbook of a lot of our airmen. If you are a unit that has airmen in that boat, let's come up with some creative solutions. And I talked about some things that are well within our trade space and maybe even within my control. For if you're waiting on a house and you're running out of TLF money, put an RV in front of a coworker's, right? If you are if you live on base and you're in a unit with these airmen that are leaving out and there's no ethical concerns because you're in the same unit, how about renting out a room for a little while and give them some options? I see a lot of potential solutions here that aren't permanent solutions, but they can certainly help somebody out until they get a couple more stripes, or we can figure out what an appropriate assignment incentive pay is, or maybe get a temporary boost in get a temporary CONUS COLA, or get a boost in BAH or something along those lines.
Stop the bleeding a little bit.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
right?
you got to put a tourniquet on there.
Absolutely.
It's not permanent, but
yep,
it
absolutely.
stops a little bit.
I have empty rooms in the house, or rooms that are not used very often in the house that I'm in Palo Verde. The problem is that a lot of the folks that need that help, I can't be a roommate with. You can't be in my unit and me to share a room with you. Sorry, Chief.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yes,
when
sir.
Tiffany kicks you out, you can't come crashing on my couch. But you can work laterally across units. So maybe within the group or other things like that. And I think there are some options here. Another thing that I think is going to show up back in vogue, and it isn't awesome, but it is certainly viable. And I remember it dramatically when I was a student, a college student in Southern California, carpooling. Not vanpool, but actually carpooling.
Yeah, share that cost.
Correct. And so if you room with someone that is in your unit and you can, cut your commute costs in half, even if it's a little inefficient, or maybe in thirds, by commuting, 3 or 4 people, you can reduce your rental cost and your that. Those are good options. There are potentially great apps, although I haven't looked at it yet, great apps that may help you do that. And if that's a capability you'd like us to start to post in some public ways, I'm open to suggestions on how we could potentially do that as well. So
Yes, sir. No,
I hear from the civilians that have been here a long time, they have commuting buddies. And it's almost like a member of the family after commuting with the same person for 5, 8, 10, 20 years.
Get somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off of. It kind of tightens the community a little bit out of that too.
So that's a long riff from a very quick question about vanpool policies. But those are all very, very germane and extremely contemporary topics that are important for us to hit. Sergeant Morris, anybody else typed in a question or a comment?
Yes, sir. The next one is more of a live update. Currently, USC is losing to Miami in the second half.
Oh, is that Jason Harris? Yeah. Oh, stop it.
And also, someone reached out to the CEG, and the CEG replied back, engineering facility should have design start in the next few months. Then based off of that, the construction schedule will be developed.
Yeah, so that's an important step that when we say design of a building, that's like buildable level of design, so blueprint type, not just an artist rendition or an architect's pretty pictures kind of thing. So we're and that's a contract, right? Those are significant dollars just to go into the design for a building of that magnitude and of that size. So hey, CEG, thanks for that. I appreciate that. And now I know who my friends are, right?
That's right.
Just let me live in the suspension that USC is going to make it to the Final
That's
Four for
right,
just another 10 minutes till the broadcast is over, and I can go see it for myself. But I appreciate that. Sergeant Morse, anything else?
No, sir, not at this time.
Yeah, not a UCLA is also losing their game.
No, sir.
All right. So let me we'll do a little chat here in the room with you, Sergeant Morse. I got the look back from Chief Swiss. Like in the last 7 days, what's something that you think is pretty cool that you got to see or participate in or do here at Takadatu that you'd like to share with the crowd? It doesn't have to be necessarily your favorite, but something that you thought was pretty cool.
So working up there at the test wing with the Command Chief Ward-Swanigan and Sergeant Neeson, I think the interesting part is seeing how the Command Chief position pretty much encompassed the mission as well as the enlisted members. So that was an eye-opening experience for me coming from the traditional security forces career field. So it's opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and I'm excited to be a part of the team, be in the direction that we're heading forward, working up there, part of the team of the test wing. So that was something that was definitely interesting to me, sir.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Sergeant Morse is in his handoff with Master Sergeant Nielsen as to be Chief Ward-Swanigan's next exec. I guess every other person in your desk has to be a defender, right? Is that the trend line I'm seeing here? Yeah. Hardesty was a defender background, and he's now the commandant at ALS. So I don't know, Sergeant Morse. There's one more stripe, and there may be some really cool opportunities that open up for you. I'm glad you're on the team, and I appreciate getting to chat with you, and I look forward to getting to know you a lot better.
Yes, sir.
Chief, anything that you want to brag on MSG or talk about things that are going forward a little bit more? You know, if Captain Moyer were here, she'd like, I'm on it, sir,
Oh, yeah,
and
yes.
she'd start hitting all the awesome things that are going on in FSS. But anything you
sure.
want to highlight?
Yes, sir. So, the master off, we're in alpha. We're hoping to stay there for a while, right? Hope is powerful. It's not necessarily a mission imperative or anything, but hope can carry you through things. So with that, we're going to start bringing back some of the youth programs. We've heard a lot of interest in gymnastics. People are talking about getting the pools open. Those will open up. A lot of that community stuff. We just had that great concert at Wings Field. That was an awesome time. They set up 300 plus. I think I counted about 500. There was a lot of people out there. People just, they want to get out. They want to do things. They want to see people. They want to have some fun. And FSS is jumping all over that. We're going to start up some more single airman program stuff. So all their gears, they're more excited than maybe some of us when we heard that we're going to Alpha and Master Off. So we're going to go full board.
The not quite yet temperature-wise for pools, but it's not far away.
It's not.
We're trending to have the pools we'll certainly have the Oasis Aquatic Center for lap swim. That's an all-year facility, but we are fully intending and expecting that the Corvius pool, I guess now Mayroad, the company formerly known as Corvius, their pool will be open, and then we'll have at least one of the other FSS facility pools and/or splash pads open, so that's something to look forward to as well. I want to highlight there's a couple places and spaces that I encourage you to rediscover now that we can have in-person dining and a lot more in-person stuff. But your club, it's Club Muroc, but your club is really a gem, and they were a critical capability on the installation for the last 18 months, as most of the time they're the latest place you can get your family to meals. Now there is a dining facility, which is for airmen and for folks that get there, but the club is an augmenting place like that, and so there's a lot of capability there, and there's actually a lot of new folks on staff there too, to include something we didn't have 2 years ago. We have a permanent chef.
That's right.
And when I asked him, how would you like me to address you? He said, General, you can address me as chef. And I said, all right, fair enough. Right? So, but go in, meet him, look at what he's doing. If you want to say, hey, would you consider this? Or here's a great option. He's looking to make the menu something that we input with or want to work on. And I think he's doing an exceptional job, not in a snap change, but he's doing an exceptional job of morphing and updating the menu there. Katie's also hired another full-time bartender. There's a couple other staff members there that are fired up and excited to be here. I will not name your name on the air, but to the member that was there with me on Wednesday night, way past the scheduled shift. Shh, don't tell Katie. I don't want to get her in trouble. But thank you. I appreciate the support that you did, and it was great chatting with you at the club. So everyone, if you're at all interested in getting there, even just for walking the bar and have a beer, or just go see what's there and think about, hey, now that we can have 250 people together, maybe I could do that long delayed promotion ceremony, or if the promotion lists that have all come out, maybe we can do a catch up, or you name it, right? So there are a lot of capabilities and a lot of opportunities that are open now that we can continue to plan for or start to plan for again at and around the club, which is your club, that I'm super excited about and very happy to endorse and not be so gentle in nudging that way. I don't know what the next one is, but they've had some awesome Scotch tasting and beer tasting events, and those will be regularly recurring events also. And I know Captain Moyer's probably going nuts that she doesn't have the charts to show it up.
Whiskey tasting coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
It's on a Wednesday. It should be a good time.
Yes, absolutely. Stuff like that. We've hit around it a little bit. Let me talk about quick COVID status. You are all probably aware that we're at HPCon Alpha. What's the two big changes at HPCon Alpha from Bravo? The two big changes, the first one is that at their discretion, the sit-down, dine-in places can go back up to no more than their fire marshal capacity. Not all of them are going to go there immediately, and it doesn't make sense to do so in a snap because there's still virus in our environment. But they can go up back to that capacity, and that's a great thing for all of us. So from lunches all the way to breakfast at the golf course and then dinners at the club, those are all back to effectively whatever the facility owner wants to do up to their fire marshal limit. So that is a good thing from the Alpha, HPCon Alpha perspective. Probably the bigger thing at HPCon Alpha, which I am elated that we're here, and it's been on the street for a couple months, and the policy's been in place for a couple years. At HBCon Alpha, if you have access to the base via a card, a pass, a visitor certificate, doesn't matter what kind of card, doesn't matter what's stamped on that card, you are welcome to be here anytime you choose to be here. We have had the, I decided a while ago that at Elevated HBCon, Bravo, Bravo Plus, and Charlie, that we were going to restrict veterans and retirees to Wednesdays and non-duty days only. That restriction is gone at HBCon Alpha and HBCon Normal. Those folks have well-earned benefits that I encourage you to come back and re-experience and enjoy. There's a chief in town, retired chief in town, that it was like, I love this guy, right? He introduced himself to me, and he was very adamant that he told me he did 29 years and 6 months on active duty, retired Air Force chief. And I'm like, what's the matter, chief? You couldn't handle another 6 months? And if he says, well, if I did higher tenure, then I'd be a lifer. Yeah, and so to you, chief, come back and start swinging sticks and enjoy the golf course that you've been a member of. And we're glad to have you back. And if we need to make it right for folks like you and you on your memberships, we're happy to do so. So talk to the manager and talk to FSS about that, and we're glad to have you back. So I'm excited about that for the retirees and the veterans that have benefits here. I hope to not go back there, but who knows? But for the foreseeable future right now, out a few months and certainly into the summer, that's what I predict will be and where we'll stay. There's also a big change in visitor policy that goes down a lower level as well, and that will help out a lot of retirees and also unit members as they reconnect with their friends and close family. So those are the two big changes at Alpha. The second big change, it's not related to Alpha, but it is related to COVID grades, so case rate, hospitalization rates, and ICUs, is Chief and I not wearing masks.
That's right.
If you want to wear a mask, you are welcome to wear a mask, and you will still see me with masks on in certain scenarios. For example, in the medical campus, you have to wear a mask, right? There are other places like that where you have to wear a mask. The facility owners, mission owners, and unit commanders, they can be restrictive if they choose to be, and I fully support their discretion and their decision to be more conservative in their places and spaces. But it is no longer required for anyone to mandatorily wear a mask on inside on this DoD installation, because the numbers in the community enable us to buy back that risk in other ways. There's no difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated, whether based on age or by choice, or medical conditions or medical exemption, and that's a big change. It's kind of like meeting people again that I've worked with for 2 years.
Absolutely.
Right? Hey, do I know you? And then you kind of do this. Like,
Yes.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
I know you. Yeah, and so that's a big change. And then the third one, I think they're done as of today, but or as of right now, but they are certainly done as of today. Also, because of the case rates in all of the surrounding counties and the other COVID status, we are also not required to do any mandatory screening for access into buildings. And so that is also time back on calendars that can be taken out of, that can be back at home or to mission or some combination thereof. For those that were required to mandatorily screen, that requirement based on COVID conditions is now in abeyance until and unless it reverts. So we're going to put the single point screening test facility, SPSTF, I didn't name it, but I can say it. So we're going to put that capability on the shelf, able to unpickle it when we need to. And one of the times that I know we're going to unpickle that is we're going to exercise it. And so our contested environment, as if you haven't been paying attention, the thing contesting us in our environment here at our mission at Edwards is a virus.
That's right.
So let's train to the enemy. Let's train to the fight, or fight like you train. Let's train to the adversary, and we're gonna practice pulling out that capability and standing it back up. I've kind of termed the adversary that we're going to fight against is Ebolacron.
Ebolacron.
Yeah, Ebolacron, a mashup of Ebola and Omicron. So kind of the infectiousness or the ease of transmission of Omicron with the lethality of Ebola. Well, right? 90% death rate and everybody gets it, right?
Whew, yeah.
So train with a little more weight than you need to play with, right?
Train for the worst. And
that's
yes,
correct.
Sir, absolutely.
And for those of you that aren't old enough to remember when Chief and I would have to go to Mop 4
Yes. Yeah.
I remember being in mock gear training to chem warfare threats.
Yes,
It's
sir.
the same philosophy, and that is the adversary that we are going to exercise and do some of our part task training to, because I think that's a very real and a very poignant threat. So, Ebolacron in quotes. So, and we'll unpickle the screening for that, and we'll make sure that we can reconstitute it, figure out who's going to screen, make sure that the underlying IT to figure out who's screened in the past week or not still works, and work all those kinds of things. If, it's probably a win, but if we get back into like another winter surge, I am likely going to reinstitute screening, and there'll be some that I have to reinstitute, but when I have to reinstitute it for some, I'm going to likely expand the pool that needs to screen, so that it isn't just those that DoD mandates to screen. We'll get a better sampling across the entire force. It won't be everybody, but kind of like we randomly sample people that are drug test eligible. There's civilians that aren't on drug test jobs and those that are, right? We'll divide the civilian crowd into those that are mission critical and those that are not. And then all active duty members are always testable for both urinalysis tests and also for screening when we go back to that capability. We'll ramp that capability up. Hopefully it's an if we need it, but it's probably a when we need it. And that should give us a much better insight into where there's risk in the environment and not just those that DoD says you must. So I think that's a good step forward. The reason that we weren't able to do that when we initially started that was we didn't have the supplies, it didn't have the capability, we didn't have the established processes or the SOPs, we didn't have the IT, and so we didn't have the ability to scale it. But I'm confident we will when we get there again, and that'll be a super helpful thing to have that experience behind us as we're going forward. So as of Monday, or as of right now, no more mandatory screening, no more masks required, and we're at HBCon Alpha. This is as good as it's been almost literally in my entire command tour. We have to go back to February of 2020 for a very short period of time where I had the job, and that was the end of the before times. I think the world changed on February 29th, 2020, when we had the first American fatality attributed to COVID. And that's my demarcation line. And since then, this is the best environment that we've been in. So let's fight to keep it that way. My final thought on this topic is always, and it has always been, you work with, maybe you are, but you certainly work with, and many of us reside with, and there are certainly people in the public, i.e. on base, at work, or out in the public, that can't get vaccinated. They're either too young or they've got medical conditions. Or maybe they can get vaccinated, but they're cancer survivors and they have a suppressed immune system. Or maybe there's some other underlying condition that makes their immune system not receptive to building the antibodies. Or maybe they are vaccinated, but they have increased comorbidities, age or underlying health conditions. So those that can't get vaccinated, those that can but don't get the immune response, and those that have a whole bunch of comorbidities, those members of our team, those members of our families, and those members of our community still need us to do our part to protect them. And there's a bunch of ways we can do that. The SMARTS acronym still works. And to the extent that you can do that, great. And if you see somebody wearing a mask, respect them, right? Sometimes that's putting on your mask, which you are required to carry with you on the installation. I bet if I did a mask check, Chief and I would pull one out with the Air Force symbol on it in orange, because that's what's in my pocket. But respect them and make sure we do what we can to protect them. And to the extent that they're willing to share with you what they're extra concerned about and why, and therefore you can be more tailored and more precise in keeping them contributing and healthy and active. That's what we do as airmen, and that's how we take care of each other as wingmen. So,
yes, sir. Absolutely.
I'm excited. I hope this is a long dry spell
Yes.
from all those, and I look forward to all the opportunities that we can get over the next few weeks and months. All right, Chief, I'll let you give any parting shots, and then we'll sign off and call it a week.
Yes, sir. Speaking of opportunities, we have one this afternoon in a little less than an hour at 1500 or 3 p.m. for however you tell the time. We're going to have the Senior Master Sergeant release party. So it's going to be a good time. I think it's going to be the first big event in the club since forever, the before times, if you will. So if you get a chance to come over there, please come over and celebrate with our Senior Master Sergeant selects.
Yeah. So I know that this. I know this shocks you because these broadcasts are always so perfectly synchronized and it looks like we're reading off scripts, but we don't have that. So that was going to be my remark. Hey, don't forget the senior release party at the club this afternoon. But thanks for foot stomping that. If you'd like to see the two of us in person and not just these gorgeous haircuts on the screen, Chief Swiss and I will be the ones there at the celebration party as well. So come congratulate those that just were selected for E8. There's a bunch of awesome leadership that we're going to see across the stage today, and we get a handsome stripes too. So I'm very proud of that team and very proud of everyone that has gotten them to this point in their career. And it's at the club, so come show the club some love, and maybe you haven't been there in a while, rediscover it. I highly recommend the Afterburner with the side salad and blue cheese.
Oh, that's good stuff. Oof.
And the Cobb salad, right?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Those are my two. When I want to be a good boy, I eat the salad, and when I'm not as concerned about it, I ate a burger. Yeah. But I put a salad on the side, so it's good stuff. And there's always a nice selection behind the bar if you choose to imbibe. Folks, I'm humbled, I'm honored, I'm proud to be here. This is going to be a very dynamic summer. Summer PCS season is here. The 412 Test Wing senior leadership and a lot of our groups are also changing out. There's summer changes of command.